Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your podcast host, and here we are to fight CPS and stop taking our children. This is a live podcast from Southern California, and I'm so glad that you've joined me tonight and that I can help you with your child protection system, your case that you're trying to fight yourself. I too had a case, and this morning when I was talking, I went over my case. I went probably over a little bit more than I have in the past, and how angry I was because I've discovered things. I've been talking about this on this podcast live for 10 months, twice a day, 7 days a week. And right on cue, we have someone that's calling in.
Hello?
Hello, this is Bob Pace. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, my name's Kim.
Hi, Kim. Welcome to my podcast. Have you been listening to me before?
I've been watching you on YouTube.
Okay. And so, what brings you to this podcast tonight?
I kind of need some advice, maybe.
That's a good thing to start off with, and you're talking to the guy that can help you.
I'm from Pennsylvania. I live in York County, Pennsylvania, and I had CYS get involved. I have two kids, and they took one of my kids out of my home a week before Christmas. And I've been trying to get him back ever since, and we have two attorneys involved. Me and my husband both have an attorney, and we are married and still together.
Okay, that is good. Are these court-appointed attorneys, or are these paid professional attorneys?
They're private attorneys that we both pay for.
Good. Glad to hear that.
I saw that on your podcast, actually. No, they're private attorneys that we both pay for. And my younger son had behavior issues since he started kindergarten, but only at school, not at home.
Okay.
They kicked him out of kindergarten, expelled him, and then they sent him to a new school in a behavior classroom. He started upping his ante, saying that his brother was 9 at the time, that his brother touched him. And the therapist, it was a guy therapist, said he didn't believe him because he wasn't calling us to pick him up at 9:30 in the morning. Never reported it. And then this year it got reported, and he said, I've been to your house, but I don't think anything happened. I just need to report this. So CYS wasn't involved until October. They came to my house, and they saw my kids. My kids said nothing happened. I installed cameras in my house to see my kids' room.
Yes, go on.
And they came back. They went to my kids' school without me knowing, and, they do that. However, my 9-year-old was able to tell me. They went to his school on December 13th, so from October till December, we didn't hear from them. They decided at the 60-day point, we're going to open your case for services.
Can you stop there for a second? So you're telling me in the state of Pennsylvania, they can legally go to your school and talk to your children without you being called by the school or you being on the school premises? I mean, not with the child, but on the premises. See, in California, it's different. If a social worker wants to talk to a child, they must have the parents come to the school. The parents are informed. They wait in separate rooms, and then the CPS investigator talks to them.
So I kind of Googled laws, and it said some schools will make you aware, other schools will not.
Wow.
And I called the schools. They said, we don't have to tell you. My kids were in 2 different school districts. My 9-year-old at least is old enough to tell me what's going on. And not my 6-year-old, but my 9-year-old.
Right. Now, another question. Does your school participate in emergency card fill out at the time of the school year starts?
Yes.
Okay. It's my understanding that all school districts, when they ask you to fill out an emergency card, you put on there who the child can see or be picked up. Now, was that social worker listed on that card?
No, but according to the school districts, because it's CYS, they can come talk to them at any time.
Well, the attorney needs to know this information because he can fight them.
Yeah,
because
my attorney does.
Yeah, he can fight them simply by saying they weren't a contact authorized by you as parents.
Well, according to my attorney, because it's Pennsylvania, there's nothing they can do about them going to the school. Now, like I said, my 5-year-old, that's a little insane that you can go to a 5-year-old's classroom and pull them out and talk to them.
Was a 5-year-old in Preppy K? Was a 5-year-old in Preppy K?
Was he in what?
Preppy K. They have, again, I'm from California. They have, before kindergarten, they have Preppy Kindergarten.
Pre-K.
And it's called, here, it's called Preppy K here. So they had a structure.
Yeah, he did a Head Start.
Yeah, they have a structured public school setting for your 5-year-old, right?
Yes.
Well, they're bound, again, you could point out to your attorney, they're bound by the same laws. You see, we have things called constitutional laws and civil laws.
Yep, I was listening to your podcast about suing, and I'll tell you why here in a minute.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm just saying, go ahead.
October, they came out to my house, saw my kids. They didn't ask to come in my house because we went outside because they couldn't find my house. We were giving them directions. They asked if they could come out, if my kids could come outside separately and talk to them. My 5-year-old wouldn't really, or he's 6, sorry. My 6-year-old wouldn't really say much at the time. He just played shy. My 9-year-old said.
Now, were you acknowledged that you don't have to talk to social workers?
Well, I didn't really say much to them, but what I did say is he's in a behavior classroom, and it's insane that you're coming out here because my son, they told me, climbed on a radiator here and was trying to hurt himself. I said, okay, that doesn't mean he's trying to hurt himself. He's in a behavior classroom.
Well, that's why you don't want to have them come, or allow them to. That's why you don't want to talk to them because. Go ahead.
Yep. And we know who reported it because the therapist told us it was him. He told us he used to work for CYS in York County, and they don't do their job, so he's just gonna keep reporting it until they do something. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So he said, you should really get your son interviewed, and I want to be present because he opens up around me. So in November, they went out to my younger son's school, and my younger son has these episodes where he takes his clothes off and he does all kinds of things, like he'll pee on the floor or whatever. Well, they still went in and talked to my son during an episode, and I guess he shook his head and said, yeah, brother touched me, and he pointed to his private. Now, he was being locked in a room at the old elementary school, which is part of the problem. He was going to the bathroom on the floor, but nobody wants to listen to that. December 13th, they went out to my older son's school. My older son came home and told me they would be back out to my house. So I called them, and I said, are you guys coming out? Because I'm not home. And nobody answered. I got a phone call back telling me they accepted my case for service, and it was the caseworker and her supervisor, not just the caseworker. They said, can we do a forensic interview on your son? I said, yes, as long as I'm able to be the one to bring him to the appointment. They said, no, you're not allowed. Well, I used to work at the courthouse, so I know how it works. And December 14th, my son went to school and had a really bad day. He did his normal, threatened to bring a gun to school, which he always does, threatened to hurt people. They started questioning him, well, how are you going to bring it, and helping him create a story of what he's going to do with the gun and how he's going to bring it. December 14th, they showed up at my house with 2 police officers, the caseworker, and the supervisor. And I was in the bathroom. They were banging on my door. I went to my back door, and the police officer was nasty to me and said, they're at your front door. They want to talk to you. And I'm like, well, who's at my front door? It was CYS. I opened the door, and they were like, we need to come in and see your kids.
Well, stop for a second. Did you know about your civil rights that you don't need to open your door unless your children are in extreme danger, or that you they have a court warrant to have you open the door? Did you know about that?
Well, I didn't know I did. So my kids are yelling, so they knew my kids were inside. So I didn't know I didn't need to open my door. But what I did know is they did need to come in my house. So I did say to them, "You're not coming in my house without a court order or a warrant." They didn't like that.
Well, first of all, your mistake was to go to the back door. When someone knocks at the door or at the front door, the first thing you need to do is take your children and hide in the closet or someplace. You don't want to give them the opportunity.
Now that you say that,
Yeah. You don't want to give them the opportunity. If you're outside, the quickest way to get rid of the police are the CYS. Is that the acronym? What's that stand for, the CYS?
Children, Youth, and Services.
Okay. Children, Youth Services, and that's in Pennsylvania. Okay. That's another one of the CPS systems.
I know it's different in every state. I know.
Yeah, and I always say CPS. So they went to the back door. The cops went to the back door and tried to intimidate you, didn't they?
Yeah. So I said, "You're not coming to my house without a court order or a warrant." This caseworker wasn't really talking. It was more the supervisor. She was like, well, and I said, "My husband's not home. You're definitely not coming in my house." And I said, "I'll open my kids' curtains if you left me down." And that wasn't good enough. She said, "If you don't let me in, I'm going to call the solicitor and we'll be in contact with you tomorrow." So they stood outside my house for a good 25 minutes, left. December 15th, we didn't send my kids to school. We didn't get an automated phone call like we normally do that my kids aren't in school. And they showed up at 4 o'clock with a court order to take my younger son out of my house a week before Christmas.
Wow.
So they took my younger son out of my house, I had family here willing to take him. They refused to allow him to go with any family. They put him with a random foster mom. After they took him to the hospital, they did a 12-panel drug test on him and nothing came back. Then we went to court and had to continue it to get an attorney because it was like the first 24-hour court hearing or whatever. And before we even went, we did parenting classes online thinking maybe it would help. At court, the second time we went to court, they issued that he go with a relative, but they didn't. CYS never cleared a relative until we actually went in front of a judge. They just let it go, like in front of the hearing officer. So we go in front of a judge, like cleared my husband's stepmom to take our son on December 27th. When they gave him to her, and then he ended up going back and forth between crisis, because they would call crisis on him every time he would do something at school. So he would go back and forth between crisis and grandma's, and then they decided to admit him into the hospital. He said in the hospital for a week till they found an inpatient bed for him. They found an inpatient bed for him, sent him to another state. He was there for a week. He got released back to grandma. He went back and still did his things, and it was only at school. Now we could visit him, but it had to be supervised. At first it was by CYS for 2 hours. An hour twice a week. And then it went to another facility does our visits now, and it went to 2 hours twice a week. So after the attorneys argued, they finally scheduled a CAC. They took a forensic interview. They took him to see the facility first to make him feel comfortable. Then they took him back and did an interview with him. And he told them nothing happened. Well, then we went to court in May, and they took all our rights away. They asked for 6 months of no contact because they said that he'll say something if we're not involved.
Now, wait a second. Did you have an attorney before they took away your rights?
Yep. Same attorney.
So why did the attorney not do an appeal? They did not do an appeal?
An appeal.
You have 15 days to do an appeal.
No, they did not do an appeal.
Why not?
The judge said that he wasn't. Well, that's my question. I kept saying there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. And we have 2 attorneys involved. The judge said, well, I'm not going to let you not see him for 6 months, but I'll do 2 months, and I will interview him myself when we come back to court, and then I'll say if he's ready for his other interview. Well, now they pushed our hearing back to August 30th, and we still can't see our son or talk to him.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Someone on my show is trying to call me, and I can only talk to one person at once. The person that called in, it's okay to call in. You have an area code of 916. I can only talk to one person at a time. And I have on the phone the person from Pennsylvania that called in. And if you wait your turn, you could call. Also, I have a person that came in the room. I named Kayla. And I don't know if you're the one that's calling, but I can only talk to one person at a time. But I want to acknowledge you, Kayla, but I don't know where you're from. Usually I ask people if they make comments. My problem is I didn't get into my ground rules. I went right into a phone call. But let me go over a couple things that are important. Do not disappear. Do not hang up here. Okay. When you're typing your comments in, make sure they're about CPS. Please show your name, city, state, or country, and be complete with your case. I don't like to play ping pong ball because you say a few things, I have to ask you more. You say a few things, it goes back and forth. So be complete. And the reason why I say country, I had over 10 countries that have called in. I've had Canada, I've had Australia and Mexico. I've had from Europe, United Kingdom, Denmark, and Sweden. From Africa, I've had Mozambique, Rwanda, and Liberia. And then from Brazil, I've had Ghana. And one of my newest country is from India, New Delhi, India. I had a person. It's okay. You're from other countries. I welcome everybody from around the world. And I'm trying to share with you all what may have worked for me that may work for you. And on the phone, I have this person that is married. They have, how many total children you have?
2.
They have 2 children, young children, and they both have professional attorneys that they got from the on-site. And right now, they're at the point where supposedly their parental rights have been taken away and the attorneys refuse to do any kind of appeal. I'm really questioning these attorneys. Are they just taking your money and running with your money?
Well, one attorney actually does criminal cases too and a bunch of other stuff, and he actually won a murder case. So
that's not what kind of attorney you need. This is the problem. And I try to tell you, everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
My attorney is specifically just for family law cases.
Well, you need something called.
I did try to call in to Vince Davis when I was watching his podcast about 3 months ago, and they told me they would call me back, but nobody called back. And then I started seeing you.
Well, I will guarantee that Vincent Davis will talk to you. That's wrong. If you call in, and did the number that you call in begin with 888-888-6582?
Yep.
Did you tell him that Bob Pace told you to tell you that he said you to call in? Did you mention my name?
I didn't because I just started watching you.
Okay,
I used to watch him, and that's how I learned about this podcast.
Right. Well, you're supposed to tell the office that Bob Pace sent you, and on top of that, you want to have what's called a consultation with Mr. Davis. Not hire him, a consultation. And the consultation is $60 for 30 minutes. And he will talk to you. He will talk to you. In fact, when you talk to Mr. Davis, you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And it's really, really important. I'm really sorry that he did not call, the office did not call Bob. Did you mention about you wanted a consultation? Do you mention you wanted a consultation?
I did the last time I called, which was, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday of this week.
Okay. And then have they got back with a time for you? They haven't?
No, the lady told someone would call back.
I've heard that before. That's not good. I do have a website that you go and check his calendar. Okay? It's scrolling on the bottom of my screen. but you type in the word Candly, CALENDLY.com / law office VWD / Bob Pace. It's broadcasting right now. And you start at Candly, CALENDLY.com / law office VWD / Bob Pace. And that takes you right to his appointment book, and you should see when the next visit he is available. Now, Kayla, who just now told me that, let me see, I need to catch up with her. Let me see here. She finally told me what city and state. Okay, she's from Hickory, North Carolina. She too had 2 attorneys. They didn't help. I believe only yourself can help yourself. I did an MDR treatment this year and it seemed to help. What does EMDR stand for? Kayla, tell me on that. She says her son was placed with the grandma of the abuser, with a foster mom who got a divorce. Well, you're supposed to place your kids with next of kin, with people that you can depend on. It sounds like you placed them with the wrong people, or social workers did. Actually, it took mine. Hers were taken in 2017, but she lost custody in 2019. I was misdiagnosed. I originally had schizo personality disorder. I have PTSD and bipolar disorder, which is treatable. And I'm sorry to hear that. So, Kayla, I don't know if you're the one that was trying to call in, but please bear with me and we will get you there and answer your questions. So for all you that are out there listening, we have a couple, well, I guess just the mother from, what was the county in Pennsylvania? York, and your first name is? Kim. So we have Kim from York, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you all heard today, but another thing happened in Pennsylvania today. And President Trump got his ear grazed by a bullet. So there's horrible things happening. And it happened in Bear, Pennsylvania, or Butler, Pennsylvania. I think that's where he was. And the bullet grazed his ears, and somehow the Secret Service shot the shooter dead right away. So, but in the process, he killed another person that was watching the rally and injured another person badly. It's a horrific thing that we have this going on in our country. But luckily, the Secret Service are well trained. The state police of Pennsylvania were well trained, and the military was there. The Army was there. So we had 3 good agencies working there, and that was really good. So for all your listeners out there, President Trump is fine, and he'll try to be Monday in Milwaukee for his convention. So, Kayla, don't fret. Whatever your question is, I need to know what EMDR is, too. Now, Kim, you've called me in, and your case is you've lost your rights to your children.
So we didn't lose completely all rights. We still have medical rights to him.
We should have medical and educational rights. Those are your last 2.
Yeah, we share them. Yeah.
Okay. So you can still tell what school for them to go to and what doctor they need to be treated at, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't lose all your rights. You're in good shape. That's still good. Now,
we still sign, we just had to sign papers for a medical appointment that the foster parents taking him to.
Why can't they go to your pediatrician? Why do they have to go to the foster doctors?
He does go to his pediatrician, but he has to have a psychological evaluation done now.
Why can't your pediatrician recommend a psychological? Why are you letting the foster carers get involved?
So it's actually, this has been a rough case. So We have to go wherever CYS tells us to go.
Well, what's
So
going
I
to
have
happen
get a
is that they're going to control the outcome. You have to understand.
Well,
Have I painted a picture about how bad that the social workers are? There was 8 ladies with 25 years experience in Prescott, Arizona. In 2022, they decided to wear pink t-shirts, and on the front they say they're professional kidnappers, and on the back they said, do you know where your children are at? And they paraded at Costco and Walmart and Target. They have been fired, but that is your typical MO of social workers. They cannot be trusted. My social worker did revenge against our daughter. My wife and I were terrified. She was lying on the stand, and my attorney caught her lies and put her down. And she told us, you will never see your daughter again. And she told our daughter to what? To change her name, to divorce her family, her brothers and her mom and dad and her grandparents, and to seal her birth certificate and to be adopted by foster care. She's 22 now. She just turned her birthday, but she didn't know anything at 12. She just went along with the program because she thought she was supposed to do it. And they have a bad habit. I know there are people out there that forget to get the birth certificate paperwork, and suddenly their children now have the foster care parents on their paperwork because CPS went and ordered the paperwork. You got to make sure if you're in the hospital and you just had a baby that you get the birth certificate before you leave, and it has clearly your name and your husband's name or who the father is on the birth certificate. And I'm only saying this, Kim, is I got to help everybody that calls in, and some of this may not pertain to you, but I want to know that if people are calling, what they're getting there. Now, let me see here.
I had a psychological evaluation done. I went to where they told me to go, and nothing came back on me. So now they court ordered one to be done on my husband, and they're messing around with him.
Yeah. I just been there's a person called Tavares Richardson. Are you live? Yes, I'm very much live. This is not a video. This is a live podcast, and I'd like to know the name. The city, the state, or country you're calling from, and about your case, Tavares Richardson. Welcome. And Kayla's in the room too, and she's been there. Go ahead, Kim. I'm sorry to be bouncing around, but I'm trying to help out everybody.
Yeah. So that's kind of like my story. So, we had to fight to get the family service plan that they do, and then we got one, and there wasn't anything on it for us to do. But they kept telling my son that mom and dad have to do stuff before you can go home. Mom and dad have to do stuff, but there's nothing for us to do. And really now they pushed our hearing back from July to August, and they said that we can't have contact with him until after he has this second CAC, but nobody's scheduling it, even though attorneys are reaching out to the detective daily to get it scheduled.
Okay, I need to tell Tavares you can't call in. I have another person that is trying to call in, and I can only talk to one person at a time. I have Kim on from Pennsylvania. And I know you're from Tyler, Texas, Tyrus, but maybe there'll be time later tonight. If not, we talk again tomorrow. I'm on 14 shows a week, so there's no problem about talking to me. And that goes for you too, Kayla. All right? So back to Kim. They see what worries me is you're letting the social workers orchestrate your medical rights. And if they do that, they'll pick their doctors, and their doctors are pro CPS, and all they're going to do is put a report that's going to look bad against you.
Well, the judge was no better. The judge told us we had to follow with where they told us to go. We couldn't just pick, because we asked if I could pick where I wanted to go, and we were told I can't. It has to be.
It sounds like that judge is corrupt. You got a corrupt judge. I'm sorry to say that judge doesn't know better. You have constitutional rights. See, the attorneys you got may be great for fighting criminal cases, but what you need is something called a juvenile family dependency attorney who's fought CPS. So your first question to attorneys is that have you did a civil case against CPS and won? And if the answer is yes, then you got a good attorney, because most attorneys will not do civil cases. Most will not do civil cases. And that's where you sue the CPS. And so that's the kind of attorney you need. This attorney may be great, but he's making all kinds of mistakes at your expense.
Yeah, so my attorney is just like juvenile, like dependency CYS case.
Is he also social? Is he also the social service system? I mean, is he the CPS, the Children Protection System?
Yeah, mine. It's a female, yeah.
Well, then why are they not? I mean, okay, you need to tell them, what are my civil rights? What are my constitutional rights? Why can I not pick my own medical doctor? Why are you letting the judge and the social workers attorneys say they need to do it?
Yep. So then they sent me to therapy, and I got to pick my therapist. So I've been going to therapy, but my therapist told me that she doesn't know why I'm needed, and she's never seen such a case like this in her whole time of working.
This is true in every place. Another example, you've heard me talk about the pink ladies. There was a lady just this last month on her Facebook page. She's a social worker. She works in Chicago, Illinois, and she put an ad. But the problem about the ad she put on her page, her social work page, is that it was an ad for selling black children, and it's from the year 1848, 140 years ago. Why? Why is she placing that ad? She's also a black social worker. Why would a black social worker place an ad, black children for sale, in the year 2024? And that was just recently. So I'm trying to tell you, I keep telling parents out there, the social workers cannot be trusted by anything. You are with an agency that is corrupt. Their whole goal is to make money. It's an $80 billion business. And one child is at least $20,000 per month that they receive from the state, who gets the money from the federal government. Now,
we also pay child support.
See, that's another thing too. If you're indigent and you don't have the money, a lot of things they have to give to you for free. But if you have a job and you have money, you're going to end up paying for all those tests, the drug tests, the classes you have to take, child support. They even try to take your Social Security from you. They'll get your child's Social Security number, apply for SSI, which are illegally supposed. You're dealing with an agency that is awful, Kim. The other case was a lady, Crystal, called in from Iowa, and she said her daughter was approached at school. She's 13 years old, by a man that told her to take off her clothes so he could take pictures of her. He was a pedophile, but he works for CPS. And on top of that, he was fired, he was terminated, and CPS wrote her a letter. But he has a friend that he grew up in childhood that did a revenge, and they got her now with social work. It's so bad. I'm trying to tell you, there isn't a good CPS worker. I've had one on my show 2 months ago named Carol from Maryland, and she had a psychology degree. She was a psychology degree, and she said she did 6 months of training in Maryland. But the people from Maryland that called me did not support that. But she was nice. She told me what she did. But so far, no one else has called in, or, they've been on listening, but they do not come and talk to me. So it is really, really, really bad. Hello, Di McEwen 05. I'm sorry, I leaned too far back on my chair. Thank you, Dominican. I was addressing Kim, who's on the phone. So, what are we going to do to change this system? Well, it's going to take time. There's no one simple answer. You need to fight your case, don't give up, and hopefully your attorney will help you. Can you sue for misdiagnosis, even though I lost him 5 years ago? There's statute of limitations, Kayla. You can sue social workers. You just got to find an attorney to do it, and most will not do it. But if you call my number, 888-888-6582, and say that Bob Pace called you and you speak to Vincent Davis, he will consult you for 30 minutes for $60. And that will be good. That will be really, really, really good for you there. Now, Kim.
Does he do multiple states?
Multiple what?
Does Vince does he go to multiple states?
Yeah, you go to any state in the country. You go to Northern California, but you have to talk with retainer. The biggest problem people have is they have limited money, no money. And he can't afford to fly for free or stay at a hotel for free. He needs to have a place to sleep, and he needs transportation to get there. And, of course, a car rental to drive around. So that is three expenses. Airfare can be anywhere from $100 to $500. I guess round trip. I don't know lately because I used to fly every week. Rentals are $100 a week, and then the stay at places are from $100 to $300. And he's not going to want to stay at the Taj Mahal. But I'm trying to tell you, those are the expenses that are hard for people, because if they have to pay, let's say his per diem would be $1,000, and then he's going to have a retainer that he normally would charge you is here in California, and that retainer only covers, it's got to be supplement, and it's him that give you the amount of the retainer. I can't do that. It all depends on your case and how long the case has been going on to give a quote. But he will talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. He will talk to you.
Okay.
And the thing with your case is I have 4 great rules. And rule 4 is research and more research. You have to find all there is about CPS in Pennsylvania, how to fight them, who they are, what the judges are. You need to read all the statutes you've been charged with. You need to look them up. I didn't do that. In fact, 2 days ago, I looked up some of the codes, and I was horrid what they said. I made the big mistake. Go ahead.
The funny thing about all of this is they come to my house every 4 weeks to see my older son, and they're not concerned about him, and there's no charges against anyone.
Now, why do they come and see your older son? Is he a special needs child?
Nope.
Why did they come to see your son? Was he on probation?
Nope, he just turned 10. They said because...
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought the older son was over 18. I am so sorry. When I hear older son...
I have a 10-year-old.
Okay.
And my other one that's in care turned 7. And they told me they have to come because he's technically a child victim because his name was involved. But they're not like, they come in and talk to him for a couple minutes and then they leave every 4 weeks.
That is strange. I've never heard that before. So they have regular visitations. I'm surprised they don't take all three children and put them in foster care.
No, I only have 2.
Okay, I'm surprised they don't take all the children, your 2 children, and put them in foster care.
They're not concerned about my other child.
Well, okay, what were the allegations? Maybe that will help me.
So, when they took him out of my house, they said, you like the brother molest him every single day, and I'm like, that is not true, because it came out one time that brother touched him, and then they interviewed my younger son, and my younger son said that the one that's in foster said no, that nothing ever happened. And after they interviewed him, they said, well, now we're taking your rights, or we're taking all your visits away because we want to re-interview him without you guys having any contact with him. Then they're changing everything from sexual abuse to all his behaviors in school.
So you were charged. Were you charged with abuse, and that the sexual charges were degrading and lewd?
No, nobody was charged with anything.
Well, wait a second. You just told me they were charged with sexual charges.
The allegations are on my older son.
Okay. Why is he not brought into foster care or into the CPS system?
Correct. So when they went to take my kid out of my house, I said, and I don't want any of my kids taken, but what I said was, why are you taking one kid over another? And they said, so you're telling us you want us to take one kid over the other? And I said, no, I'm not saying that to you at all. And I said, because I know how the system works. And I said, well, wouldn't you think the victim needs his family more than who you're accusing of doing something? But once they took him, and they already had a place for him to go, they wouldn't let any of my family see him or talk to him. They kept saying that everybody will coach him.
Okay.
And then we were allowed to go to doctor's appointments until we lost all of our visits. The first doctor appointment with the psychological evaluation, he told the doctor that he don't live with the foster parents. He lives with his mom, his dad, and his brother. And my husband was like, that's not true. He's been in foster. And he said, no, I'm just visiting the foster parents. I live with my parents. It's like he wants to come home. He's happy.
Oh, boy. How often do you talk to your attorneys?
And he would ask to see, almost every day.
Okay.
He would ask to see his brother every single day, and they kept telling him, next time you can see your brother, next time you can see your brother. And my kids have yet to see each other since December.
So you were not accused, but you were not accused of molesting your children. You were accused of allowing the children to molest. That is called neglect. So you must have been accused of neglect, and that's why they're investigating you.
No. The only allegation that came across for me, nothing came across for my husband. The only thing that came across for me was after they took my son. They then sent us a letter and said they had a new child line that I give my son cough syrup. And I'm assuming it's because they have nothing else on me. So they created a child line on me. And that's the only thing they have on me. And it was brought up in court, well, why didn't you charge the mom then if something was in his system when he went to the hospital? It's because there was nothing in his system, but they're saying, well, that's not how the system works. We wouldn't charge just because there's something in his system. But my allegation didn't happen until after he was taken. And then after he had his first interview where he said nothing happened, he thought he was going to be allowed to come home. And my attorney had filed an emergency petition to release him back home to his house. And the judge denied it because they asked for 6 months of no contact to re-interview him in hopes that they get... What my therapist told me is what she gets out of the caseworker when she keeps asking the caseworker how long I need to do therapy and stuff because it's court ordered. She keeps getting out of the caseworker that they're going to try to keep him from us as long as possible in hopes that he'll admit that something happened to him.
Well, that's not why they're keeping him. They're keeping him because they need that $20,000 a month. Oh, God.
Yep.
They don't.
And the foster parent gets paid for him. Yep.
Well, the foster parent gets money too. They're corrupt too. So.
Yep.
So where?
She even told somebody that she was doing it for her livelihood.
What is your attorneys have said? What have they said so far?
I mean, not really anything. I mean, they told me that they keep reaching out to the detectives and that none of this makes sense to them and that, I mean, there's nothing really. They just told us there's stuff that we're not going to like that we're going to have to do, but we have to do it to get our kid back. I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss because I didn't think it would take this long to get my kid back.
Do you have a plan? Do you have a CPS plan?
Yes, we have a family service plan. We actually, they didn't give it to us for like weeks after, but we did get it. On the very first one, it just said that we had to comply with like having a house, which we had for 10 years. We both have to have jobs, which we do, and continue our visits and go to doctor's appointments and stuff like that. Then it didn't come out until March that they decided they want me to do a psychological evaluation, so they added it. Everything else is for our younger son. They want him to do therapy and they want him to do evaluations, but it's nothing for us.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody says it makes sense because why are they taking one kid and not the other?
Right.
They come to my house every 4 weeks and they see my house. And we let them in because we're so scared now.
Well, Travis Rich is...
That's also in our service plan that we have to allow them in our house.
Okay. Travis Richardson, who's from Tyler, Texas, has to leave. She has to go to work. It's okay to call in tomorrow. I'll be on at 8 o'clock on Sunday in the morning. I'm on early Pacific time, 8 o'clock. Travis Richardson, so you can call in then. Okay? But thank you for what you've told me and coming tonight for help. She wants a civil rights attorney because is your CPS closed right now, Travis Richardson? Is your case closed? Because you cannot sue CPS unless your case is closed. You can sue them, but you got to make sure the case is over with. Have you and your husband sat down with the two attorneys and developed a strategy plan and how they get your two boys back? I mean, your one boy back because you said your 10-year-old is still with you.
Yeah. We've talked to our attorneys separate and we've not sat down with them all together, but our attorneys talk to each other. Like they schedule phone calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's also, I don't know if you guys have this in your state, but we have like they did a court-appointed CASA worker, which has never spoke to us, but is on CYS's side.
Well, they have what's called. They have different names. In California, they're called CASA, a court-appointed.
CASA. That's what they're called. Yes.
Okay. They have them in California. They are ears for CPS. They're not your friend. They're supposed. See, everybody's supposed to get a CASA worker. They take them out to lunch. They are listeners, and they give all the information to CPS. They're not going to help you. I mean.
Oh yeah, they never spoke to us, but they put a report out on us.
Oh yeah, I know that, but somehow I've hurt my back, and these pillows I have behind me are not working.
Oh,
so hey, Faye, you're here. She said she was on the phone. Faye is one of my regulars. She's from Richmond, Kentucky. And she helps me a lot with different stories. And so she is here now. Faye, I've had a very busy room. I haven't even got into all my ground rules to talk to and what to do. Like, to call me or to do comments or schedule to be a guest. I haven't even talked about my rules. But we've had an interest tonight. Kim's been on me. She's from Pennsylvania. And she has two attorneys, one for her husband, one for her, that supposedly are qualified and they're supposed to be doing a good job, but they've taken away pretty much all their rights. They still have their medical rights and their educational rights, but they have a young son that accuses his older brother molesting her young son sexually. and the parents are involved because they didn't protect her young son from being molested by her brother. I'm not saying that's true, and you have to understand that when these allegations are made.
Yeah, they have to do their job.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, well, it only came out at school. When he's in his episodes where he doesn't want to do his work, so he had to repeat kindergarten. He did 2 years of kindergarten. And
is he a special needs kid? Is he a special needs kid?
So when we were told to take him to be evaluated, we did eventually take him to be evaluated because we kept getting threatened by the school district for crisis. When we took him, he was being bullied in kindergarten, and the person that evaluated him said it's a school issue. And now they're doing another evaluation on him a year and a half later because our evaluation wasn't good enough, and they're giving the evaluator their information. But he does have an IEP, and he's supposed to be in an emotional support classroom, which he was never in. He just got put in one. We actually sued the school district and got settlement for him. And
okay.
It was literally a couple weeks before they took him out of our house that we got settlement for him.
Why did you sue the school district? Sorry, what?
Because they weren't we had to get an education attorney involved. So we actually have 3 attorneys involved. We have an education attorney involved out of Philadelphia. And they were locking him in a room that was like a 4x6 room at his very first school district. They wouldn't let him out to go to the bathroom, so he was peeing pooping on the floor. He had to eat lunch on the floor in the room. He was leaving the school when they didn't know he was leaving, and they were allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't teaching him at all. And it went on for 5 months.
Wow.
And that's where the behavior started. And I've had babysitters, like I even have letters from babysitters saying how good my kid is for them. Like I had a babysitter pick him up from one of his episodes, and she witnessed it, just the way he was at school. But the second she got him off the school property, he was another child. And he loves to do homework. It's just at school.
Maybe, well, see, that's where a professional therapist should be involved. You are not, I'm not, but that child may have some special needs that you've not found out.
Yeah, and I know they're doing the psychological evaluation on him.
Okay.
And he does have speech delays, so he is in speech therapy and he is in OT therapy. So he does have some speech delays.
So there is special needs for that child. And Faye has a child that has special needs too. Her older son, who she's trying to get guardianship, has special needs. And her son's teacher was abusing him. You see, there may be a teacher that's abusing your young son, and you may not know that. And that's why...
So they just moved him to...
Go ahead.
They just moved him to his 3rd school in 2 years.
Well, that tells me there's something that your son is being hurt upon and something that needs to be looked on. I'm not going to have enough time because I have right now about 5 minutes left of my show. That doesn't mean we have to stop because we can continue tomorrow. I'm on 14 shows. If it takes the whole week, I'll help you. I'll help anybody in this room. Some of you, like Kayla, wanted to call in or have called in. Travis Richardson, you have a case. You want some help. I will help everybody I can. Diane Williamson is another one in there. And another one named Di Quinn 05 is another mother. I have a lot of people here tonight. Deanna Williams is another one there that have called in that have all kinds of questions, and I try to answer them by looking at in chat and so forth. But I do want to thank Lori Hillner for always coming into my room. She doesn't say much, but she talks about William Mullins. And I think it's one of her children that's been lost or whatever it is. And Kayla, I hear you about that. And she also had 2 attorneys. I don't know what EMDR means. That's some type of treatment. Let me see here. Travis Richardson. I appreciate you said you'd be here tomorrow. You had to go to work. Diane Williams is from Sacramento, California, and she lost her rights. An attorney said she would not do appeal as well. The judges have said that they would be returned but retired and adopted them out. Oh, how terrible that was, Diana. There's always so many sad stories. And I really thank all of you for expressing yourself. I'm sorry there's not enough time to answer all of you at once, but in time I will. And the main thing you need to do is keep your head up high. Oh, my back. Do not give up. I don't know why my back is hurting me. And keep fighting. And in time, your child will be returned to you. Do what they ask. Say yes, no answers. Do not let them in your home. Do not talk to them. Get an attorney. Keep track of your paperwork and do the research. Do the research about them. There's a lot of information out there that you can learn. And I'm still learning today. I've been involved with CPS for 15 years. At age 60, when I lost my job, they started accusing me because my in-laws were saying stuff that wasn't true. And so I fought for 5 years, but then they got me in 2015 and stole my children. They trafficked them into foster care, 3 of them. I'm 6 children, but my 3 younger ones they took in there. And then in time, they got my daughter and they nailed her. And so I lost a daughter, but I did get my 2 sons back, but I had to use an attorney. Some attorneys don't work. I know that. I know it's hard with money. Money is really hard with a lot of people, including myself. So I've been there. I know what it is. I lost my home. I sold my home to get my kids back, to hire an attorney. I mean, I worked 40 years for that home. And I've been homeless. I was homeless for 6 months until I ended up in the hospital because I was trying to live in an RX-7, and you can't lay down in an RX-7. You have to be horizontal at times when you sleep. But anyway, I want to thank you all for listening and coming in and saying anything. Thank you, Kim, for taking your time to share your story. Go ahead, Kim. Go ahead.
Before you go, have you heard from Leslie?
No, I haven't. I'm glad you brought that up. Faye and I have been talking about Leslie. Leslie was a lady from Florida that called a couple days ago that said her Social Security number, when they look it up, says she's dead. And someone has done something to it, so she's trying. I did talk to her yesterday, and she's still trying. Okay. But she's got to reach out.
Thinking of her.
Yeah, I think everybody is. And we were thinking about everybody, but thank you for asking about Leslie. And Faye also asked about her. So God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off. I'll see you tomorrow at 8.